Yes, sir.
And to give the court some perspective, in which direction on Greenwood Boulevard were you driving?
I was going from Lake Emma to Lake Mary Boulevard.
So if you continued past Lake Mary Boulevard, you would be going north on Reinhardt Road towards Sanford?
Yes, sir, correct.
Okay. Now, at the intersection of Greenwood Boulevard and Lake Mary Boulevard, did you make a turn?
Yes, sir.
And in which direction did you turn?
I turned right towards 1792.
So you're on Lake Mary Boulevard going eastbound towards 1792?
Yes, sir.
Now, while you were at the intersection of Greenwood Boulevard and Lake Mary Boulevard, did you happen to see a Seminole County Sheriff's Office deputy or a vehicle from the Seminole County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, sir.
And explain to the court where that was and what you saw.
It was passing me. It was traveling on Lake Mary Boulevard from I-4 area towards 1792.
And where did that Seminole County Sheriff's Office vehicle go?
Into Trailhead Park on the corner of Reinhardt and Lake Mary Boulevard.
Okay. Now, when you made your right onto Lake Mary Boulevard going eastbound, in what lane were you in?
I was in the rightmost lane, sir.
Okay. And as you were driving on Lake Mary Boulevard in the right-hand lane, did another vehicle pull up behind you?
Yes, sir.
Explain to the judge, please, or describe to the court that vehicle. What type of vehicle was it?
It's a four-door Infiniti sedan.
And did this particular vehicle, this Infiniti sedan, do anything with its lights or horn?
Yes, sir.
What did it do?
It flashed its lights and honked its horn.
Now, at that point, when this car was behind you, flashing its lights and honking its horn, what were you thinking the car wanted to do?
I believed it wanted me to get out of its path so that it could pass me at a faster rate.
Okay, so you just thought it was some driver behind you that just wanted to go past you and was in a rush?
Correct.
Objection leading, and also asked and answered.
Overruled as to both.
Your Honor, I don't know if there are other witnesses, but
There aren't.
There are no other witnesses in the courtroom?
No, I'm just calling Mr. Zimmerman.
Okay.
thank you.
Go ahead.
So you're in the right-hand lane now, and you're thinking this car wants to pass you. What did you do?
I got into the left lane, traveling the same direction.
Now, when you did that, what did this Infiniti sedan do?
It stayed behind me and it changed lanes at the same time that I did. It got into the left lane behind me. And again, it flashed its high beams and honked its horn.
Now, where did you go at that point? You're driving eastbound.
First opportunity after the post office, yes, sir.
Okay. And at that point, were you able to immediately make a U-turn, or was because of traffic you had to stop at that particular point?
I had to wait for traffic.
Leading.
Overruled.
You can answer the question.
I had to, of course, wait for traffic before I completed the U-turn.
Now, when you were waiting for traffic to complete your U-turn, did you see the Infiniti vehicle, the sedan that
Yes, sir.
And where was that in relationship to your vehicle?
He had followed me to the window that was down.
And why was that window down 8 to 10 inches?
I had been smoking a cigar probably about 5 minutes before I made the U-turn, so I just left it down, like I said, 8 to 10 inches.
And you anticipated my next question, which is the other windows on the vehicle, were they up or down?
All of the windows were up.
Including the front passenger side window?
Yes, sir.
Now, while you are at your stationary position waiting to make your U-turn, did the driver of that Infiniti say or yell anything at you?
Yes, sir.
Now, when that driver yelled or said something to you, did you look back at him?
Yes, sir.
And were you able to see his face?
Yes, sir.
Do you see the driver of that Infiniti in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
And would you please identify him?
Sitting right there next to...
At the counsel table with the blue jail garb on?
Yes, sir.
Please let the record reflect that Mr. Zimmerman identified the defendant in this case. Now, tell the court, as best as you can remember, exactly what did Mr. Apperson say to you. And I'm asking you to quote. If there are any obscenities, I want you to say the words that you heard him say. So tell the court, please, what did he say to you?
He said, "Do you remember me, you fat motherfucker?"
Did he say anything else to you?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. You want me just to say
Yes,
the
please go
dialogue?
ahead. Yes.
He said, "Do you remember me, you fat motherfucker?" He had a short pause, and then he said, "You owe me your life. The only reason I didn't press charges was because I wanted to kill you myself." Then, again, a short pause. I started to roll up my window, and he said, "Pull over so we can handle this man to man."
Now, what was your response, if any, to these things that Mr. Apperson said to you?
When he said that he had, I owed him my life because he didn't press charges, that's when I recognized who he was. I laughed, I called him a clown, and that's when I rolled up my window.
So now your driver's window was completely rolled up?
Yes, sir.
And the other windows in your vehicle all rolled up?
Yes, sir.
Now, at some point, did the traffic clear to allow you to make your U-turn?
Yes, sir.
And did you, in fact, make your U-turn?
Yes, sir.
And at this point now, you're driving westbound on Lake Mary Boulevard back towards Reinhardt Road?
Yes, sir.
And what lane were you in, the left or right lane at that point, immediately after your U-turn?
The left.
Okay. Did you see the gray Infiniti?
Yes, sir.
What did the gray Infiniti do?
Completed the U-turn as well and got within inches of my rear bumper. And then as I accelerated to get to the deputy quicker, he went from the left lane, changed lanes into the right lane, came up next to me.
Okay. And at that point, when he When he pulled up next to you, were you able to look out your front passenger window?
Yes, sir.
Did you see through your front passenger window?
Yes, sir.
And at that point, when you looked through and your front passenger window was still rolled up?
Yes, sir. It had never been rolled down.
When you looked through your front passenger window, what did you see at that point?
I saw the gray Infiniti sedan with the driver's side window down, and through that window I saw Mr. Apperson, and I saw the barrel of a gun. And
okay, and then at that point, what did you see or hear?
I immediately heard a bang and a ringing in my ears, and
now, as soon as you heard that bang, what did you do?
I slammed on my brakes.
And you're still in the left lane now?
Yes, sir.
And the gray Infiniti, what did that car do? What did Mr. Apperson do?
Passed me, got into the left-hand lane, and made a U-turn and started coming back towards me.
Okay, on Lake Mary Boulevard going eastbound towards 1792?
Yes, sir.
Now, did you see damage to your front passenger window?
Yes, sir.
What did you see? What type of damage did you see?
A hole, and the glass had been shattered, spiderwebbed, but in place, still held in place.
Okay. And what about injuries? Did you sustain any injuries?
Yes, sir.
Tell the court what injuries that you sustained, and what did you see? Did you see any blood? That's really my question.
Yes, sir.
Where did you see blood?
There was blood. Immediately I saw blood on my eyelash, so I knew I had been injured. Then I looked down at my shorts. I saw blood on my shorts, but I did not see a hole in the driver's side window. So I believed I was shot.
Thought you got shot?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
When I got to the emergency room is when I saw glass sprayed on my right arm. I'm sorry, I don't know if it was glass, but I saw stippling and bleeding from my right arm. And then I saw in the rearview mirror, I saw that I had a cut above my eye, above the left eye, below the left eye, and on the right of my face as well.
Now, at that point, what did you do? Did you drive anywhere? Did you stop your vehicle? What did you do with your vehicle?
I started driving back towards where I had seen the deputy parked at Trailhead Park. And that's when, in order to drive that way, I looked in the rearview mirror to make sure that the right-hand lane was clear, because Trailhead Park was on the right-hand lane. When I started accelerating and looking in the rearview mirror to see the right-hand lane was clear, that's when I saw a SUV with a light bar on top, and I recognized it as a police officer or a deputy, and I flagged them down.
Okay. So that turned out to be a Lake Mary police vehicle?
Yes, sir.
And at some point, were you able to get the attention of that Lake Mary police officer?
Yes, sir.
And explain to the court how that came about. How did you get the officer's attention, and how did you eventually wind up stopping?
This was within seconds of me slamming on my brakes after the gunshot. I was still in the left-hand lane. I had not gone into the right-hand lane because I saw the police officer behind me. The police officer was in the right-hand lane, and I accelerated to the point where we were matching speeds, and I honked at the police officer, and I rolled down my rear passenger side window And he rolled down his window, and I yelled at him, please help me, I've been shot.
Okay. And did, at that point, did you stop your vehicle, and did the officer stop his vehicle?
Yes, sir. The officer stopped and instructed me to pull in front of his vehicle, leave the left lane open.
And at some point after that, after you established contact with the officer, did the fire department come to treat your injuries?
Yes, sir.
And then you were transported to the hospital?
Yes, sir.
Showing Mr. LeFay states A through E for identification.
I don't have any objection.
Okay. I don't believe Mr. LeFay has any objection.
Without objection, states A through E will come into evidence as states 1 through 5.
E through F.
Oh, it's through F? Okay, then they'll come in as 1 through 6.
Mr. Zimmerman, I will show you a series of photographs and just ask you if you recognize it, and if you do, to explain what the photograph depicts. First, let me show you State's Exhibit 1. And I want to zoom out. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Oh. State's Exhibit 1, can you tell the court what does State's Exhibit 1 depict?
That's the passenger side of my Honda Ridgeline.
And does it show the bullet hole?
Yes, sir, in the passenger side window.
And is that that damage, that bullet hole that's depicted in this photograph, was that hole caused by the shot through your window that Mr. Apperson shot?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you State's Exhibit 2. Is that just a close-up of what we just saw?
Yes, sir.
Now, State's Exhibit 3. What does that photograph depict?
That would be from the inside of my vehicle, from the passenger side window, from the driver's view.
Looking over?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Of the same damage to the passenger side window.
And State's Exhibit 4, same photograph, but just same thing, or just close up?
Yes, sir.
Now let me show you State's Exhibit 5. And what does that depict?
Those were the holes that I saw after being shot at.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 6 is pretty much the same type of photograph?
Yes, sir.
Now, just a few more questions, Mr. Zimmerman. From the time that you rolled up your driver's side window when you first had that verbal exchange with Mr. Apperson, from that time when you rolled up your driver's window to the time that he shot a bullet through your right passenger side window, were all your windows in your vehicle rolled up?
Yes, sir.
And are the windows on your driver's side and your passenger side, are they tinted?
Yes, sir.
And with regard to the tint on the front passenger's side window, if you were standing outside of your vehicle looking in, would you be able to see inside?
Absolutely not.
Now, Mr. Zimmerman, from the time that you first encountered Mr. Apperson to the time that he fired a shot into your vehicle, did you at any time verbally threaten Mr. Apperson in any manner? Did you verbally threaten him in any manner?
No, sir.
Did you physically threaten him in any manner?
No, sir.
Did you threaten him with or display or point any weapon at Mr. Apperson?
No, sir.
Did you threaten him with or display or point any gun or firearm at Mr. Apperson?
No, sir.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you, Clark.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Zimmerman?
Good afternoon.
Where were you coming from that day on May 11th?
I'm sorry. Before the
Exactly. When you started your drive, where were you coming from?
Lake Emma Road in Lake Mary.
About how far away from that U-turn is that?
Over a mile.
So, a couple minutes driving time?
I wouldn't say.
That be fair?
I wouldn't say more than a couple, yes, sir.
You're driving normal speed on Lake Mary, which is about 45 miles an hour or so?
Yes, sir.
So, whatever the math is, there's some stoplights in there. A couple of minutes, would that be fair?
Yes, sir.
What time did you leave your house?
Around 12:30.
Your Honda that you drive, the windows are automatic, correct? By that, there's a button that you can push to make them go up and go down.
They do not. It's not that you just automatically pull it once and they go up. You have to keep pressure on them.
Okay. And you mentioned that you had your window down on your driver's side.
Approximately 8 to 10 inches, yes, sir. Prior to making the U-turn.
Was it typical warm, hot Florida day?
Yes, sir.
Was your AC on or off?
It would have been on.
You mentioned that you had a cigar. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Where did you light that up?
I can't tell you if it was from the day before or leaving my house or if it was a brand new one.
No. Thank you. Let me clarify my question. Did you light that while you were en route?
Yes, sir.
So, and is it fair to say that if you partially smoke a cigar, you may save the rest for enjoyment later on?
You're speaking in general terms, sir?
General terms.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
How did you light your cigar as you were en route?
I put a lighter up to it.
Okay. Big cigar, it's one of those small cigarillos. I'll strike that if I may. What's your brand, Mr. Zimmerman?
Don Kiki's white labels.
Okay. Are those big, medium, or small cigars?
They come in several sizes. The one, if you're asking the one I typically smoke?
That, on that day that you lit up in your car?
Oh, I can't tell you exactly. I can just tell you typically they're the Churchills.
Larger?
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned that this may have been a new cigar that you were just lighting up for the first time?
I mentioned that it may have been from the day before. It may have been previously smoked.
How much had you smoked the day before?
I didn't keep track, sir.
Well, let me ask you differently. Did you have a lot of cigar left, a lot of Churchill left, or just a little bit?
No, sir. Less than a quarter.
Less than a quarter. When did you put that out? About how long before, or vis-a-vis when you first saw Mr. Apperson, how much time beforehand?
I would say right about you don't actually put cigars out. You set them down and they eventually smolder and stop smoking. So it's not like a cigarette where you would actually put it out. I had set it down probably right around the time I was making the right-hand turn onto Lake Mary Boulevard.
And about how far is that from the U-turn?
That's, again, without doing the math or measuring.
Estimate.
I believe yours was between a mile or two.
Okay. So, and where did you put that in your vehicle to sort of smolder out?
I don't remember if I put it in my vehicle to smolder out. If I did, I put it in an ashtray, a stainless steel ashtray in the cup holder, or I threw it out the window.
Okay. You had firearms in your vehicle, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Where were they located on that day?
There was one immediately to the right of my right knee, in between my knee and the center console.
Was that the Springfield?
Yes, sir. That was the Springfield EMP. It was on a fast draw gun magnet. And then there was a Glock 19 inside of my backpack that was kind of smushed between my console and my the front console. So my center console that my armrest is on has a few inches and is kind of wedged in there, right in between the center console and the front driving console. If you were you asking about just the guns?
You know, if I may, Your Honor, and thank you, Mr. Zimmerman, you answered my question.
Yes, sir.
I'm just going to let me introduce this one. Your Honor, I'm going to ask if these photos could be marked by identification as defense, make it a composite.
Okay, is there any objection to them being introduced?
No, Your Honor.
So there'll be defense composite exhibit number 1.
May I approach the witness, Your
Yes, you
Honor?
may.
Mr. Zimmerman, I'm showing you what's been marked as Defense 1,
Yes, sir.
and it is a composite of the interior of the Honda that you were driving. Do you recognize them?
Yes, sir.
So the first photo up is a camera shot. In the foreground would be the passenger seat, then the console, then the driver's seat. If you would, could you just point to me where the bag that you described with
Your
the...
Honor, can we maybe...
Just a second. If you want me to see it, you're going to have to put it up on the screen and have him point there. There's a laser pointer right there. And he
Oh, I didn't know we had a laser pointer. Thank you, Your Honor.
There's one right here, Mr. Zimmerman, if you'll take it. He'll put it up on the screen. That way
Oh,
he
thank
can
you.
point and you can ask questions and I can see.
So that's the photograph we were just speaking about, as now in evidence is 1, Mr. Zimmerman.
Yes, sir.
If you would, using your laser pointer, could you just point to the area where that bag with the second firearm was?
Would have been right in there, sir.
And that metallic cup in the cup holder, is that the sort of ashtray thing that you were describing?
Yes, sir.
The Springfield, which had the fast draw or magnetic assembly on it, where was that located?
In fairness, you can't see it from this angle, sir. Do you want me to show where it would have been?
Sure. Just,
It would be, if you could see through that cup holder, it would be right there, sir.
okay, attached to that console.
It would be on this part of that side of the console. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, are you able to, do you see that blue thing in there behind the tin cup?
Yes, sir.
Well, what are all those items in there? Do you recognize them?
I do not, sir. I can't see clearly enough to say for sure what they...
Okay. And behind it in the open space, I see a camo type of thing. Can you tell me what was in there?
I don't know what was in there at the time the picture was taken, but that's a cigar holder.
The camouflage thing?
I'm sorry. Yes, sir, right there. That waterproof humidor.
Okay. So you have cigars within that? Or that's what you use it for?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. I'm done with mine. I'm sorry, I had one more to show. I beg your pardon, Your Honor. I'm going to show you what's also within Composite 1, and that is a closer look at the tin cup and that area. Does that help you recognize any of those items?
If I could see it closer, I could probably tell you, but again, the cup that you're referring to, that one, is what I referred to earlier as a stainless steel ashtray.
And those other items in the well there, do you recognize them?
I believe that's a lighter right there. I can't tell for sure. I can speculate what that is, but again, it's too far away for me to see from right here.
Would it help you if I brought the photo over to you?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Leave with the court if I could do that.
You may.
So I'm going to show you the same photo, which is, again, taken out of Defense 1. And does that help you, these items within the well that you just had your laser on? Can you tell what those are, Mr. Zimmerman?
The one that I said I believe was an ashtray is an ashtray. The one that you said was a blue object, that's eye drop, re-wetting drops for contacts. That's definitely my humidor, and then that's actually a cap for the stainless steel ashtray.
And that would be the goldish metallic thing next to the humidor.
It's actually stainless steel. I think it's just the shadowing.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And just for the record, Mr. Zimmerman, within State's Composite 1, I beg your pardon, within Defense Composite number 1, what you've just looked at and testified to, because I have to make a record, is a photograph that is one of 3 photographs. It is the 3rd in my packet, which I will now staple. And it depicts the armrest primarily. You can see some of the passenger seat, a little bit of the driver's seat, and then that console area with the cup that you've described and the blue eye contact lens solution, etc. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'll remove that, and I'm now going to ask the clerk to staple it. The Springfield that you mentioned that was on the fast draw, or the metallic clip, or the magnetic clip, Does that have a safety mechanism?
It has several, yes, sir.
I beg your pardon, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry, it has more than one, yes, sir.
Okay, how many does it have?
At least 3 that I can think of off the top of my head.
And can you describe them for me, please?
Yes, sir. One is a thumb lever safety. One is a beaver strap on the back of the handle. The other would be actually a lock. It's called an integrated locking system on the back of the handle. You can actually lock the gun. It becomes pretty much a paperweight if you do that with a key.
With regard to the locking mechanism, on that day, was the locking mechanism in place or was the firearm unlocked?
In reference to which locking mechanism, sir?
The third one that you mentioned, and you mentioned that it would basically, when the lock is on, it turns the firearm into a paperweight. Was that engaged so that the firearm was quote-unquote a paperweight, or was it disengaged?
It was disengaged.
You mentioned, was the firearm in any kind of a holster or anything like that?
The fast draw gun magnet is marketed as a holster. It's not closed, snapped, zippered, or anything like that. It's just marketed as a holster.
Okay.
And I'm assuming you're speaking about at the time I was driving?
Yes, sir.
It was solely on the magnet, the fast draw gun magnet.
Okay. Now, you mentioned some sort of a strap on the handle?
Yes, sir. That's what it's called. It's more of like a pressured lever, it's called a beaver tail safety.
Okay. Was that safety on so that to render the gun unfireable, or was it off?
Yes, sir. It would be on.
Okay. And then the first mechanism that you mentioned, I think you said it was a thumb lever.
Yes, sir.
Was that safety mechanism engaged, making the firearm not fireable, or was it not engaged?
Engaged.
Do you keep, is that an automatic or a revolver?
Automatic, sir.
Do you keep a round in the chamber?
Yes, sir.
And was the round in the chamber on 511 as you were driving?
Yes, sir.
Now, you mentioned a second firearm that you had, and that would have been in the bag.
Yes, sir.
What kind of was this bag open?
No, sir.
How was it shut?
It's got several compartments. The compartment that the second firearm, the Glock, was in would have been Velcroed shut. It's made specifically to hold firearms, and it's Velcro.
And if you would, Mr. Zimmerman, was this an automatic?
Yes, sir.
And it's a Glock?
Yes, sir.
19?
Yes, sir.
Same questions. Was there a round in the chamber?
I don't know.
Is there a safety mechanism on that firearm?
There is a trigger shoe safety on it. Yes, sir.
A trigger shoe?
Yes, sir. It's it's kind of a piece of the trigger that has to be depressed so that the trigger can come back and fire.
Okay, this is not a trigger lock.
No, sir.
But in order to fire the weapon, you would have to do what with the trigger?
You would have to put enough pressure on it to depress the trigger shoe safety and pull the trigger back at the same time.
Okay. Now, did on May the 11th, at the time of this, did you have a carrying a concealed firearms license?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Zimmerman, segue to a different date before I get into the rest of it, and so I want you to just follow my questioning, if you will. You had mentioned that, or I believe there had been a prior episode that you testified about briefly when Mr. Stone was asking you questions between you and Mr. Apperson, occurring on September the 9th of 2014.
You're saying that I spoke about it today?
Well, was there a prior episode involving you and Mr. Apperson occurring on or about September the 9th of 2014?
Yes, sir.
The weapons that you described here today, were they in your car on that date as well?
I can't say for certain, sir.
Would you have had, in your memory, any other firearms within your car on September the 9th of 2014?
I can't say. I can say that I had a firearm in my vehicle, but I have a lot. I don't know which one specifically I would have had in my vehicle at the time.
Was there a passenger in your car on that occasion?
On September 9th?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What was that person's name?
I don't want to give it out. I'm sorry.
Your Honor, I would...
If there's no objection to the question, we need to give an answer.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes, you may. Mr. Zimmerman, if you'll just give the initials of that person, that will be sufficient for the purposes of today's hearing.
JS I believe.
JS?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Zimmerman, just so I can be clear for purposes of our record, I'm not asking you to state the name, but you know the person's name, obviously, correct?
What I believe to be their name, yes, sir.
And you know that person's location and address, is that correct?
No, sir.
Without saying what it is?
No, sir.
The September the 9th incident, how did that altercation start?
With the person who I now know to be Mr. Apperson, flagging me down. I don't remember if he was honking or waving while he was behind me, but when he got next to me, he started wagging his finger and pointing to my truck.
Where were you driving to?
Sam's Club on Reinhardt Road. I was on Lake Mary Boulevard driving from 1792 towards Reinhardt.
Were you driving with your windows up or down?
Up at the time.
Did you say anything to Mr. Apperson?
After I rolled down the passenger side window,
Yes.
I had been losing air in my back passenger tire. I rolled down my window and I said, "Thank you, I already know I'm losing air." And that's when he said, "Pardon me, do you want me to give you the dialogue?" It was a...
Yeah. No.
I'm sorry?
Yes, please.
I said, "Thank you, I already know." And he said, "You already know you're wrong for killing that little black boy?"
Okay. What did you respond to that?
I believe I laughed at him, and I don't know if I'm supposed to...
Please say what you said.
I told him to fuck off. He didn't know what he was talking about.
Did you continue driving straight on to Sam's Club?
No, sir.
Where did you go?
He was in the right-hand lane, so I couldn't get into the right-hand lane. He stayed right next to me, preventing me from getting into the right-hand turn lane on Lake Mary Boulevard to head towards Sam's Club. That's when he told me that real men handle their shit with their fists, not guns, and I should pick on someone my own size, not a little boy.
And your response was?
Again, I told him, I laughed. I told him he had no idea what he was talking about.
Did you use some profanities in there?
I'm sure. I'm sure he did as well.
Did you then continue driving on to Sam's?
No, sir.
Where did you go then?
I believe he made a right and got off of Lake Mary Boulevard, and as soon as I was able to, I made a right. He had gone into a gas station, which I had passed when I made the right before the Chick-fil-A on Lake Mary Boulevard. It actually leads into the same parking lot. That's where I saw him get out of his car. He pulled up and parked in front of the BP, and he got out of his car and started walking towards mine. I was waiting for the gas pumps to clear up to make the right. He came up to my car. He said something, and I told him that he had no idea what he was talking about. He had no idea what I had done for the black community, that he would never step foot into the ghettos that I went to mentor the kids, that he would never go to the black churches to raise awareness for the homeless black man, Sherman Ware. And he told me, "Wait right here," and he started heading back towards his car. As soon as he did that, I took off. I drove away, and at that point, I continued on to Sam's Club.
So, through one way or another, you ended up at the same gas station that he stopped at. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
And my understanding is that you were making a right onto Lake Mary Boulevard at that time. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, you'll have to repeat that.
When you went into the BP station, what was your purpose for going in there?
I didn't go into the BP, sir. I passed the BP and I went into the right before Lake Mary Boulevard. That led into the BP station. And then at that point, you can only make a right to get back on Lake Mary Boulevard.
Okay. Are you right or left-handed, Mr. Zimmerman?
I write left-handed, but I am predominantly right-handed.
When you practice with a pistol, do you favor your right hand or your left hand?
My right.
I want to direct you back to May the 11th. On May the 11th, you mentioned during Mr. Stone's questioning that you were in the process of making a U-turn. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
At that U-turn, how far away would you estimate the officer was that you had seen parking at Trailerhead Park, distance-wise?
I would estimate, again, within a mile or two, as we had previously said. That's the intersection that I turned right onto Lake Mary Boulevard.
And is it fair to say that traffic was moderate to heavy on Lake Mary Boulevard at that time?
I would say yes, there was a lot of innocent bystanders, yes, sir.
Well, that's not necessarily my question. My question is, was traffic moderate to heavy on Lake Mary Boulevard at that time?
Yes, sir. It was lunch rush hour, I'd say.
Several intersections and stoplights before you would get to that Trailerhead Park area where you saw the deputy parked.
I don't think
Is that fair?
I don't think that's correct. I think there's only one light prior to Trailhead Park, which would be at the Forest, which is a retirement community.
Okay. So when the Infiniti pulled up behind you and you first heard Mr. Apperson yell per your testimony, how far back was the Infiniti off of your bumper, would you estimate?
Maybe a foot at most.
You mentioned that you then pulled into traffic or pulled onto Lake Mary Boulevard and the Infiniti pulled up alongside your passenger side. Is that correct?
No, sir. I said that I waited for traffic to clear up, and then I completed the U-turn. The Infiniti completed the U-turn and got behind me and followed behind me very closely for a distance. Then it sped up and got in the right-hand lane next to me. But it did not immediately go into the right-hand lane.
When the Infiniti was within your view at the passenger side?
Yes, sir. After completing the U-turn.
After completing the U-turn?
Yes,
sir. As you said, it sped up and got next to you. Paraphrasing.
Yes, sir.
Did you keep your eye on the Infiniti the entire time, or were you watching the road?
By what do you mean the entire time, sir?
The entire time. Thank you. Let me clarify. The entire time it was next to you.
When it was next to me, when it had sped up and gotten next to me?
Exactly.
Yes, sir. I kept my eye on it the entire time.
And how fast were you going?
I would say between 45 and 50 miles per hour approximately.
And were you still accelerating
At which time, sir?
when the Infiniti had pulled up next to you and you were watching it?
As it was pulling up next to me, no, immediately after he fired the shot,
No, okay, we're not there yet. So
sorry.
I don't mean to cut you off, Mr. Zimmerman. Let me rephrase my question, if I may. My question is that when the Infiniti pulled up next to you, were you, and you're now looking at it, sort of the driver's compartment in the other car, were you still accelerating?
Yes, sir.
How long was it there before the shot fired?
Not even a second. As soon as I looked over, I saw the barrel of the gun. I saw Mr. Apperson. I heard the shot. And I mean, it was within seconds at the most.
You did not see a muzzle flash, is that fair?
No, sir. I wouldn't say that's fair.
Or did you see a muzzle flash?
I don't recall seeing a muzzle flash, sir.
You did not see Mr. Apperson's arm.
Yes, I did.
Where was his arm?
I'm sorry, to backtrack. At which point, sir?
Thank you. Let me narrow my question. What's the first thing that you saw with regard to a firearm?
The barrel of the gun, yes. When he was immediately next to me.
And where was the barrel of the gun?
It was in the air inside of the Infiniti.
Did you see anything other than the barrel of the gun inside the Infiniti?
Mr. Apperson's face?
Did you see which hand he had it in?
No, sir.
Did you see anything else prior to hearing the bang and then your ears ringing as you testified?
At that precise time?
At that precise time?
No, sir.
When you say that the barrel of the gun was inside the Infiniti, was it pointing in any particular direction?
Yes, sir.
Where was it pointing?
Towards me, towards my face.
At the time, I'm going to backtrack a second. When Mr. Apperson first yelled at you as you testified, "Do you remember me, you fat motherfucker?" Did you do anything with regard to your own firearms at that time?
Absolutely not.
Did you do anything with regard to your firearms when the Infiniti came up behind you after you made the U-turn?
Absolutely not.
As the Infiniti began to come around the passenger side of your car, did you touch or move or do anything with regard to the firearms in your vehicle as that occurred?
Absolutely not.
What distance was it if I may strike that, Your Honor?
Yes.
As the Infiniti pulled up beside you, and as you have previously testified, it was next to you, you saw the barrel of the gun inside the Infiniti, how far away from your passenger side, the exterior of your car, that is,
yes, sir,
your passenger side door, better phrased, was the Infiniti? Footage.
Less than, I would say 8 feet, less than 8 feet.
Fair to say 7 to 8 feet?
Certainly, yes, sir. 6 to 8, I'd say, to
6
be
to
on the
8?
safe side.
Okay. Did you call let me strike that. Did you have your cell phone with you?
Yes, sir.
Did you call 911?
After he shot at me?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
You mentioned that you had some blood on your eyelash and some small cuts, superficial wounds on your right arm. Is that correct?
No, sir. I never said small or superficial.
You had some wounds on your right arm.
And both sides of my face.
Would you classify the wounds on your right arm as superficial?
I don't know the definition of superficial, sir.
Did you need any stitches?
No, sir.
Did they put any bandaging on them at the hospital?
They irrigated them and put bandages on them, and they told me that they knew something was in it and it would have to be removed, but they wanted to see if it would come out with time.
Did it come out on its own?
It must have, yes, sir, because I didn't go for them to extract anything. Or it's
Did
either
you-
still, I'm sorry, it might still be there, I don't know.
Okay.
But I never went back for follow-up.
Did you wipe the blood off of your eyelash and around your face with your hands? Or a hand?
Yes, sir. You're speaking about prior to the paramedics getting there?
Yeah. Well, good. Let me ask that. When did you do that?
When I saw the drop of blood on my eyelash, I didn't want it to get into my eye, so that's why I looked down and I blinked, and when it didn't come down, when it didn't fall off from me blinking, I wiped it.
Okay. And then, where was your cell phone?
You had the picture of my dash, and there's a cell phone holder it would be held in. It's
Okay.
suction cup to the windshield.
Is that the black suction cup thing on your upper left?
No, sir. It would be in the center of the windshield. Can I use this again, Your Honor?
Yeah.
So I see a phone cord. Would that be?
That phone cord right there, this is a radar detector right there. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And this is the phone cord that, again, this is after Lake Mary Police have gone through it, and it's distorted because it's showing that as the cell phone holder as being on the left, but in the other picture it shows it's clearly in the center.
I see. And is that where your cell phone was mounted?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Zimmerman, down here there's a bag in the passenger compartment, which is a different bag than the one you previously described with the firearm in it. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what are the contents of this particular bag?
I have no idea, sir. Again, that was...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That was after Lake Mary Police Department inventoried it and had gone through it all and left everything kind of in disarray. A lot of that stuff, for example, the radar detector, it was mounted right next to the cell phone holder. So I don't know, this bag right here, I can't even tell you what's in it, if it's what material that bag is made of.
Do you know if it was ammo?
I don't know, sir. I don't know what that... maybe if I saw the bag closer, or if I saw a picture of it closer.
Thank you, Ron. At the time that you saw the Lake Mary police officer, and you testified that you got his attention, how much further down the road was that from where you made the U-turn?
When I first started trying to get his attention,
Yes, sir.
it was very close to where I had made the U-turn. I would say it was probably about 1/5 of the way from the U-turn to Lake Mary Boulevard when I first tried to get the Lake Mary police officer's attention.
You were making a U-turn on Lake Mary Boulevard, is that correct?
I'm sorry, 1/5 of the way from where I'd made the U-turn to, it's actually Reinhardt, I believe in that direction, Reinhardt Road.
So about 1/5 of the way back to Trailhead Park?
Yes, sir, that'd be fair. About 1/4 of the way from Trailhead, or 1/4 of the way to Trailhead Park.
And at some point, you realized that you were not shot, is that correct?
After I had flagged down the police officer, and yes, that's when I realized that I had not been shot, shortly after that.
The paramedics arrived as you testified, correct?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
And did you feel that you needed to go to the hospital?
I felt that I needed to, but I wasn't sure if the attention or my I hate to say high-profile status would have made it more beneficial to go or not to go. I feel that I did need to go, absolutely. I really didn't want to attract, there were already spectators taking pictures at the scene.
Detective Hernandez asked you to make or came up to you and asked you to make a statement on that day. Is that correct?
Along with others, yes, sir.
You told her no, but you cussed her out for good measure. Is that fair?
No, sir.
You didn't?
No, sir.
But you declined to make a statement on that day. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Why is that?
Did I decline to make a statement at the scene, or are you
Yes.
saying that day?
Let's start at the scene. Why didn't you make a statement to law enforcement on that day at the scene?
Lake Mary Chief of Police Bracknell is a crooked person, terrible cop, so I don't have any faith in Lake Mary Police Department.
You did, however, and I'm just going back to the scene with the paramedics. At some point, you went back into your car. Is that correct?
No, sir.
Did you retrieve that bag with that firearm in it?
I'm sorry, you're saying retrieve as if I had gotten out of the vehicle and went back into the vehicle?
Correct. Thank you. Let me ask it differently. When you got out of the vehicle, after having met the Lake Mary police officer, what was your purpose in getting out of the vehicle?
I'm sorry, sir. Did the Lake Mary investigator question me once I was already in the ambulance? I didn't go back into the vehicle after that.
Okay, I've taken some things out of sequence, and I apologize for that, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Zimmerman. So let me just say, on a new issue,
Yes, sir.
at some point, after you stopped your vehicle, after you stopped the Honda, you got out of the car. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you take anything with you?
Yes, sir.
What did you take?
The black backpack?
Containing the Glock.
Yes, sir, along with my medicines, an EpiPen, an inhaler, and a bulletproof insert.
I'm sorry?
A bulletproof insert?
Okay. Did you ever go back into the car after that?
No, sir, not until it was released to me days later.
Prior to getting out of the car, did you handle the Glock?
No, sir.
Did you handle the Springfield?
Yes, sir.
What did you do with that?
After the Lake Mary police officer told me to pull in front of him, and I knew he was going to come up to my vehicle and get out of his vehicle, I put it into the center console for his safety as well as mine. I didn't want him to think that whatever the case was, all the anti-police rhetoric.
What did you do with the magnetic holster or clip?
That's actually secured to the console by a screw, sir. It doesn't remove unless you unscrew it.
Okay. When you got your car back, can you tell me what was the distance between the top of the what's called the drip rail, or the metallic part of the car that the window pushes up against? How far down was that bullet hole?
I'm sorry, you're talking about the hole on the passenger side?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
from the top of the window.
Inches, as you showed in the pictures.
How many?
I didn't measure, sir. I would refer to Lake Mary's crime scene technicians.
Was your window operable?
The passenger side window?
Passenger side window.
Depends on your definition of operable. I think you could hear the motor moving, but the Lake Mary sergeant that released the vehicle told me not to try and touch it because the window would just crumble and fall apart. So
you never tried to move it up or down? Is that fair?
But I believe it was operable because I never had to replace the motor or anything.
Okay. You didn't make any statements to the police went to the hospital with you, is that correct? Or they saw you at the hospital?
He went, the initial officer that I had flagged down followed the ambulance to the hospital and stayed at the hospital with me.
You didn't make any statements to the police at the hospital either, is that correct?
Like formal written statements?
Correct, about what happened there on Lake Mary Boulevard with the gunshot, etc.
No, sir.
If I could just take 1 moment, please, Ron. Mr. Zimmerman, I want to ask you about an incident occurring on November 18th of 2013, November 18th, 2013, involving Samantha Scheibe, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, S-C-H-E-I-B as in boy, E, Scheibe. Do you recall that?
I don't recall the exact date.
Do you recall having an incident where the police were called with regard to an incident involving Ms. Scheibe?
Certain, yes, sir.
And had you taken out a shotgun during that incident?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. I don't see the relevance to the question, how it touches upon Mr. Zimmerman's bias or motive or interest with regard to
So
this.
your objection is relevance?
Relevance.
Okay.
Well, it goes to what's in my client's knowledge of past episodes of violence.
You didn't ask him that question, so I'm going to sustain the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just for the record, I can't, it would be inappropriate for me to ask Mr. Zimmerman what my client knows or doesn't know.
And Mr. Zimmerman can't testify to that, but I'm finding that your question to Mr. Zimmerman is irrelevant.
If I could just take a moment.
Yes, you may.
Your Honor, I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Zimmerman, let me just ask you a couple of questions about the September 9th, 2014
Yes, sir.
incident that Mr. LaFay asked you about. When Mr. LaFay was asking questions, you described to us the things that Mr. Apperson said to you when he was wagging his finger at you and mentioned about killing, and I think the term that you used was that little black boy?
That was the term he used, sir. Yes,
That right, that you used describing what he said to you?
Yes, sir.
What was his demeanor? Was it, how would you describe the manner in which he said that? His demeanor, was he angry? Was he upset? Was he pleasant when he said that? Just describe his demeanor.
Angrily. Wagging his finger, pointing, and yelling. I would say all three that I would characterize as angrily.
Okay. And let me just jump regarding the same incident.
Yes, sir.
You told Mr. LaFay that you pulled into I think a BP, did you say, or a?
I'm sorry, sir. I pulled into the next intersection after the BP and made a right. When you make another right, that goes into the BP. I wish I had a map I'd show you. I didn't pull on Lake Mary Boulevard. You can pull directly into the BP gas station.
Right.
Which is what I believe Mr. Apperson did, because I was able to get in the right-hand lane to make a right into the shopping plaza after that.
Okay. So this event occurred on Lake Mary Boulevard?
Yes, sir.
Now, was there a Circle K in the area right there?
I'm sorry, sir. I think it's now it's a Circle K. It's the Circle K BP is interchangeable, sir.
Now you told us when Mr. LaFay was asking questions that when you pulled into that BP Circle K, you saw Mr. Apperson walking towards you?
Yes, sir. I made a right again to get back onto Lake Mary Boulevard, and you have to go through the gas station, and that's where I was waiting for. There were cars at the pumps. I was waiting for them to clear out when I saw that Mr. Apperson had pulled into the gas station parking lot and immediately in front of the gas station. That's when he got out of his car, angrily yelling and approaching my car. I was waiting for the people at the pumps to be done and kind of traffic to clear up so that I could leave through there and get back onto Lake Mary Boulevard.
And he approached you?
Yes, I never got out of my vehicle. He got out of his vehicle and came towards mine.
And did you see, and if you don't know the answer to this question, that's fine, did Mr. Apperson pull into that BP Circle K before you got there or after you got there? And if you don't know, that's fine, but...
I don't know, sir. I'm sorry.
So you when Mr. LaFay was asking questions, your testimony was not that Mr. Apperson was there and then you pulled in there. Is that a fair statement?
No, sir.
That's
correct.
objection. That's leading.
Overruled.
Okay. Now, on going to May 15th, the date of this particular event, I'm sorry, May 11th. May 11th. The day of this particular event, you told us that you didn't call 911 when the shot was, when you heard the shot?
Yes, sir.
Why did you not call 911?
As I testified previously to Mr. LaFay, at that point, I still believed that I had been hit by or shot at. I did not see a hole in the driver's side window, so, an exit hole per se. So I believe that I was injured, and I believe that I could make it to the deputy at Trailhead Park before I could relay the information to 911, or they could get an ambulance out to me.
So it was, you knew or you thought that you can get to a police officer before you could get any assistance through 911?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Now, Mr. LaFay asked you questions about the contents of a bag that was on the floorboard on one of the defense exhibits.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm showing Mr. Zimmerman the second page of the three-page composite exhibit. If you looked at it closer, and if you can't, that's fine, but now that you're looking at it closer, are you able to tell us what's in that bag or not?
Yes, sir.
What's in that bag?
Various boxes of ammunition.
Okay. Any guns in that bag?
No, sir.
Oh, okay. And one final series of questions. Mr. LaFay asked you about whether you made any statements to the police that day on May 11th, and you did not make a statement at the scene?
No, sir.
And you did not make a statement at the hospital? A formal statement,
Again, on the advice of my counsel, I did not make any statement, any formal written statement or formal verbal statement to any Lakeland Police Department.
And you anticipated my question. Why did you not make a statement that day?
Upon the advice of my counsel.
Okay. Now, did you ultimately make a formal statement to the police?
Absolutely, sir.
And where did that take place?
The the Winter Park Police Department.
And that's when and that was a few days after this event?
Yes, sir.
And that was a recorded statement that you gave?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. West, your attorney, was present for that?
Yes, sir.
And that was the formal statement that you gave with regard to this case?
Yes, sir.
I have nothing further.
Thank you. Any recalls?
Briefly, Your Honor. I've shown this to Mr. Stone. I'd ask to have it. Do you have any questions?
I have no objection.
Ask to have it.
Objection. It'll come in as defense exhibit number 2.
Mr. Zimmerman, so I want to now take you back to after the shot was fired that went through the window, and as you were driving towards the deputy up at Trailhead Park, and you, of course, saw another Lake Mary police officer, as you've testified.
I'm sorry, sir. There was a Seminole County deputy and a Lake Mary Police Department.
Thank you. So you're driving up to Trailhead Park, where you saw the Seminole County deputy, and then en route you encountered the Lake Mary police officer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there was a point, do you recall the woman detective, her name being Detective Michelle Hernandez, trying to question you or ask you questions when EMS or the paramedics were present?
Do I remember her asking me
to make a statement?
No, sir.
Do you remember refusing to make a statement to her?
No, sir. If she's the investigator that got onto the ambulance, she was trying to take pictures. Nobody asked me to make a statement then and there.
Okay. Did the police ask you to make a statement that day on May the 11th at any time?
I don't recall. There was a lot of communication that was made directly to my attorney. But I don't believe any investigator directly verbally asked me to make a statement, sir.
At what point in time in this chain of events did you first call your attorney? I'm not asking what you said.
Right away.
So that was immediately after the shot was fired?
After I flagged down the Lake Mary Police Department officer. I have a good relationship with my attorney.
Mr. Stone had asked you to take a look at one of the photos that was in Defense 1, and I'm now going to show you what's Defense 2. Do you recognize that it's the same bag on your floorboard?
I'm sorry, sir. That bag was not on my floorboard on May 11th.
You've misunderstood my question, and let me broaden it a little bit. Do you recognize that to be the same bag on your floorboard as depicted in the previous photo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that your bag?
Yes, sir.
And this is a larger picture. Are you able to readily see that it contains multiple boxes of ammo?
I can see the one box of ammo. I can't say that I see multiple boxes, sir.
Okay.
See the one marked Suprema?
Is that buckshot?
I don't know, sir. I can't tell from here.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I may approach the witness. Do you see a container marked double-aught buck?
Yes, sir.
Would that be your box of shotgun ammunition?
I can't say if it's mine personally. It's a range ammunition bag, and people throw their boxes in there, or I pick up boxes if I see people littering.
Okay.
But I definitely see the OO buck.
And the yellow box over here, does that partially say Remington? Are those Federals?
I see MINGTON.
Do you recognize that to be a Remington bullet box or bullet?
I'm not that familiar with Remington, sir.
Okay. Were there other boxes of ammunition within the black bag that's I've shown you in this photograph, Defense 2?
Certainly, yes, sir.
Your Honor, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
One question about the bag, that's all. Just one question.
Do not ask two.
The bag that's depicted in State's Exhibit, Defense Exhibit 2, this bag, you told Mr. LeFay that it was not on the floorboard, although in the photograph it's on the floorboard. At the time of this incident on May 11th, 2015, when the shot went through your window, where was that bag?
That bag would have either been in the back seat, or my truck actually has a lockable in-bed trunk. So as odd as it may sound, in a pickup truck, it would either be in the trunk or in the back compartment.
But not on the floorboard?
That's two questions.
Not on the floorboard.
It's also leading.
No, I'm not going back and forth. We're not going re-cross. May Mr. Zimmerman be excused?
Yes, Your Honor. Well,
Are you intending to call him as a witness?
No, I'm not, Your Honor.
Okay?
Yes.
You may be excused, sir. Thank you. State have any other witnesses?
I have no further witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay, defense have any witnesses?
The defense does not, Your Honor.
Okay, let me hear argument.
I'm sorry?
Let me hear argument.
Yes. Very briefly, Your Honor. The purpose of this hearing, adversarial preliminary hearing, is for the court to determine whether or not there is probable cause for the charges. And I would argue to the court that there absolutely is, that has been established. Mr. Apperson is charged with 3 counts: attempted second-degree murder with a firearm, count 2, shooting into an occupied vehicle, and aggravated assault with a firearm. Clearly, probable cause has been established for all 3 of those counts. The particular element of attempted second-degree murder, which contains ill will, hatred, or spite, clearly there's probable cause based upon that verbal exchange that occurred between Mr. Zimmerman and Mr. Apperson while they were making the U-turn when Mr. Apperson used those profanities towards Mr. Zimmerman. For the record, Your Honor, I would like to cite one case that goes towards the question of probable cause and what is probable cause. And I know the court's familiar with this particular case. It's the United States Supreme Court case, Maryland versus Pringle, located at 540 U.S. Reporter, page 366 of 2003. Supreme Court opinion, a unanimous opinion, and it gives various formulations of probable cause. It's there in the opinion. I'm not going to go through each of the formulations, but clearly based upon what the Supreme Court of the United States has expressed in various ways what probable cause is. Clearly in this hearing, probable cause has been established for the 3 counts in the information.
Thank you. Response?
Your Honor, I don't have any argument. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Based upon the testimony that the court heard today, the court does find that there is probable cause that the offenses of attempted second-degree murder with a firearm, shooting into an occupied vehicle, and aggravated assault with a firearm the offenses have been committed, and that the defendant is the person who is alleged to have committed those offenses. The defendant shall be held over for trial. He's set for docket sounding on October 21st, 2015. I will provide a written order and follow up to the court's oral pronunciation. Pronouncement. Thank you. Anything further on this case?
No, Your Honor.
All right, let me go ahead and call the rest. Ms. Daniels had to leave. Ms. Daniels had to leave. I got a note that she had.
Oh, yes.
So are we setting, Mr. Pallone, I'm sorry that you had to sit here through the entire thing, but I think Ms. Daniels is going to reset your plea, so we'll just consider this to be reset. And then Mr. Heffley was here. Did he leave? He had a motion to withdraw. Waxler, I know he was sitting there. Is he outside the courtroom?
I'll check, Judge.
Your Honor, as one housekeeping matter on the Apperson case, there may be some significant expenses with regard to depositions and experts potentially. So I'm asking Mr. Apperson to fill out an affidavit of insolvency, and of course I know I would have to do a motion on that, but
Right, if he'll fill out the affidavit, you could put it in the court file, and you can prepare your motion and with the proposed order on e-file, and I'll review it and make that determination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So as soon as you get that in, we can do that. Okay, Mr. Headley's not here, so his motion, I know that he was here before, we'll just consider it to be canceled. I believe that that's all for this afternoon. You are here on...
Judge, yes, I'm here for Stephen Reinzo, that's 2015 CF 1468-A. At this time, we'd be withdrawing our motion.
Okay, the motion for to reduce bond is withdrawn. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge.
Anybody else feel they have business with the court and I have not addressed their issues? Okay, court is in recess.
Yeah.